Okay, so let's get some cornhole boards built. So 90% of the build that you're going to do for cornhole boards are pretty much all prep work. The assembly themselves, super easy. So for my build, I got some 3/8 inch carriage bolts. I got some 3/8 inch washers and some 3/8 inch nylon nuts. Okay. So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to get all of our pocket holes in, and then we've got to turn around and get the legs cut at the right angles and get them rounded. So with that said, let's get dirty. Okay, so let's start with the legs. So with the legs, the first thing we need to do is we need to put a semicircle at the top, and we're going to have to cut about a 30-degree angle on the bottom. So these are the scrap from the cup holders that I cut into my chairs, and they actually work just perfectly. So I'm just going to line it up just slightly below the top, and then I'm just going to outline that over to the miter saw, and I'm going to cut a 45-degree angle just slightly above the line here. Now you can cut this with a jigsaw, or if you have a bandsaw, that'll make it easier too. But the way I do it, again, I just cut the 45s off here, and once I have it set up on the miter saw where I have the stop block, all I have to do is just go ahead and do the cuts, and it's really simple. So I'm going to go knock those out real quick, and I'll be right back. So I've got my 45 degrees cut here, so I can take it over to the belt sander, and then I'm just going to sand it until I sneak up on this line and make a nice semicircle here. All right, so I got them all cut with a semicircle. Now let me tell you, I have made enough of these to know exactly when to stop. But if you need to draw a circle on each one until you get the hang of it, you go right ahead. That's fine. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the halfway point. Now these are 3.5, so I need 1 3/4. So I'm going to make a mark at 1 3/4, and then what I want to do is I want to come down from the top 1 inch and make a mark. That's where I'm going to put my 3/8 inch hole for the leg. So before I do that though, I'm going to go ahead and take them over to the miter saw, and I need to cut 30-degree angles at the bottom of all 4 legs. So I'm going to go knock that out real quick. Okay, so your leg should look something like this. So here's my 30-degree angle, and then I've got the 3/8 inch mark right here. Now I got to take it over to the drill press, and I'm going to set it up so that I'm going to do a 3/8 inch hole right here at the top. So I thought you might want to see how I have my drill press set up. So if you've been following my videos, you'll remember this little table here, because I built that for something else. But I have that clamped down so that the back wall is holding the leg exactly where I want it there. And then when I clamp down this side over here, I just put a stop block. So when I put a leg on, I just butt it up against the back and the side and drill the 3/8 inch hole, and it works perfectly. So perfect, we have the legs done. We can set those aside. Now we can start working on the frame of the cornhole board. Okay, so we got to make sure we're using the 3/4 inch bit, and we're using the right setting on the Craig K4. Make sure that is set at 3/4 of an inch also. I've already picked which side on this one I want to be facing out, so I can just load it up, and I can just start cutting all these, and I'm going to do 2 on each side. So 2 back here, 2 up here, and I'm going to use A and C if you're using the Craig 4, but you do need to put 2 holes in there. Okay, so I have my 2 pocket holes on each side here. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to put some pocket holes in the top of these skirts. And the reason why is so it can hold down the top of the cornhole board. Now, I am going to make a slight adjustment to my pocket hole jig. And the reason why is because I did 1/2 inch birch plywood. So I actually am going to back it up to 1 inch, and then that way it won't poke all the way through. So I'm going to get those holes cut on the tops of the skirts, and we'll move on from there. Now, if you have a 3/4 inch piece, then you can go ahead and stay at the 3/4. But again, I'm just backing it up so it doesn't poke through on the 1/2 inch. So I'm going to be putting my pocket holes about every 7 or 8 inches. I'll be using hole B. So if you're using the K4, you can follow along. All right, all the prep work is done, got all the holes drilled. Now our next step is we're going to start the assembly. So we're going to need 3 of the cross pieces and 2 of the side pieces. So we're going to have to mount them up. Now I'm going to be using one of my bars here, and I'm going to just get it set up for this end piece. And before I clamp it, I just want to throw a little bit of glue on each side. Make sure my pocket holes are pointing down. All right, so we got it in there. We just got to get it lined up. We'll use the bar clamp to help us make sure that it's square. And once we got it nice and square, we'll clamp it down. Now we need the help of the clamps on this build to put these pieces in so they don't move on us. We definitely don't want that to happen. So I'm building it upside down. So the top is actually where the bottom is right now. So all my pocket holes are facing down. Okay, we got that side on. Let's go ahead and put on the other side over here. Double check that your pocket holes are facing down. All right, we got everything squared up. Let's throw some pocket screws in there. And the last piece we want to put on is the center brace. So we'll get that all lined up. I'm going to throw the clamp on here, and I'm going to throw it on the opposite side of where I need to put the screws so it's not in my way. Okay, you can remove your clamp, and you've got one frame done. So get your second frame set up and do the exact same process. Again, make sure all your pocket holes are facing down and do the same exact build. Okay, so we have our frame done. Now what we want to do is pick which side we want for the front. I think I'm going to go with this side here. All right, so I'm going to lay that down and then place my frame on top. So I'm going to flip it over, and I want to put a bead of glue all the way around this monster, getting on all these flat surfaces here. And then I can drop her down. So now that I have it down, I'm going to just make sure that all the sides are square, and they turned out square. So I'm going to put a clamp here, and I'm also going to put a clamp down here. Okay, now I can start setting my pocket screws. Let's move this one aside. Now we'll get number 2 prepped, and that'll be my top. Grab a frame, turn it upside down, or turn it, I'm sorry, in this case, turn it right side up so I can put the glue on it. All right, now we can flip it. Throw the clamp on that side. Just double check. Feels good. All right, time to put in the pocket screws. So if you happen to get one that doesn't square up properly, like you square up the side over here and then you reach over and feel that this side just will not, or the other side will not square up. So just grab yourself a pipe clamp and just make sure that both the back side and the front side of the pipe clamp, the parts of them, touch both the top and the side. And you'll notice as you tighten it up, it will actually fix itself, right? Because it's going to push the top until it's flush, which will automatically fix the top part. Now, I hope you understand that. But it is really simple to fix. You just need to grab a clamp. Just make sure that both parts of the clamp are touching the top of your board and the skirt, and just start tightening it up. And believe me, it will fix itself. All right, after all those pocket screws, if your arm isn't tired, you probably did it wrong. I'm just kidding. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to attach the legs. Now, it's important that we attach the legs the right way. We don't want it like this. We want the slant like that, so it's flat. So we're going to make sure that the points are pointing to the bottom of the board. So we'll just set those there for now. And then what we're going to need is we're going to need a 1-inch space from the top of the board to the leg. So once we have that 1-inch space, I'm just going to grab a piece of scrap wood, put it on the back side here, and then I'm going to clamp it down. Now, the reason why I did the scrap wood is because when I poke through, I'm going to use the 3/8 inch bit. When I poke through, I don't want it to get the tear out.
Hey.
Hey.
I was wondering where was Copper.
Oh, he's with me.
All right, bye.
Bye. Okay, so we've got the 3/8 inch bit loaded on here. Now we're just going to use the hole that we made on the drill press, and we're just going to use that as our guide to drill through. All right, do the same thing for the other leg. So poke a carriage bolt into the hole, then put a 3/8 inch washer on, put the leg on, and then put one more washer on. Now we're going to use a nylon lock nut. All right, so now that we've got that set up, hammer your carriage bolt into the wood, and then it's just a matter of tightening your nylon nut. So the first leg is on. We just got to repeat that 3 more times. So remember the rotation. We put the bolt in, we put a washer on, then we put the leg on, we put another washer, and then a nylon bolt. All right, so we've got the legs on. The next thing we want to do is we want to put the hole for the cornholes, and we want to put those measuring across at 1 foot. So that's the halfway mark. And then we need to measure down 9 inches. And that is where we're going to be putting a 6-inch hole. Now, you have options. You can circle it out and cut it with a jigsaw, or you can use a 6-inch hole cutter. Now, the thing about the hole cutter is make sure that you have a good hold on your drill, because when it catches, it's going to kick that drill. And if you're not holding it tightly, it's going to hurt. So I'm going to use the 6-inch hole cutter. And I want to make sure that I hit that hole exactly. So I'm going to scribe it and then start my hole. All right, so I have that one cut. I'm going to set this board aside and put the other one on. Do the exact same thing. Now make sure when you're cutting the hole that you look and see that the bolts are on the top side here. That means that's the top of the board. If you cut the 6-inch hole on the bottom side, you're going to have to reverse your legs, and yeah, it's going to be a real pain. So just take a quick look and make sure that your bolts are right here and you're good to go. So the last thing I'm going to do before an ungodly amount of sanding is I'm going to use a 1/8 inch round over bit around the whole edge and inside the circle. So I'm going to get started on that now. All right, so make sure you double check your plywood. I just found this when I was doing the round over. So I'm going to have to fill that before I can continue on this board. So I'm just going to fill it with putty and then let it dry. So, but again, just kind of take a look around on your, because these pockets do exist in plywood. So now I just got me a sheet of 220 here. I'm just going to go again around the hole where I just did the router and along the sides just to smooth it out. Okay, so the build is done. Now all you have to do is you're going to have to sand each board before you put any top coat on it. Do it with a 220 sandpaper. Then get yourself some Spar Urethane. I did 3 coats, so I would apply 1 coat, and when it dried, I would go over it with a 4/0 steel wool, and I repeated that 2 more times for a total of 3. Got a nice smooth surface here. They look gorgeous. So these are a pretty simple build. You're going to be spending most of your time just with the prep work, getting the legs cut and getting all the pocket holes in them. But once that's done, these go together really quick. Then it's just your dry time between each coat of urethane that you're putting on it, and they're ready to go, ready to play some cornhole. To make it even easier, when you go into your lumber store, grab yourself a sheet of 4x8 plywood and then have them cut it. Lowe's, Home Depot does it. Just have them cut 2x4, 2 foot by 4 foot, and you've got yourself 2 sets of cornhole boards. So then all you got to do is just get the 1x4s and you're good to go. So again, pretty easy build. Most of the time I spent is pretty much all prep. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified of new episodes as they become available. If you're new to the woodworking hobby, check out my Woodworking for Beginners video series. It's a 12-part series, just gives you a basic overview of some woodworking techniques with some really simple projects that I'll take you through step by step. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comment section. I'll get to them as soon as I can. If you'd like to support my channel, I'll put a link down in the description to make a donation. You could also help me out if you could share my videos on all of your social media pages. That'd be a great help. I'd really appreciate it. So until next time, keep it safe.